When my brother and I left for school this morning, we saw this newborn lamb standing by its mother. David is 11. It's clear now the lamb didn't learn how to get at the ewe's milk. It has gone all day without any food. Come on now. Don't walk away. You've got to stay here until you learn. Come back here. That's it, you've got it. Drink, grow, and get strong. My name is Betty Tuso. I'm 13 years old. I live in the high plains, or the Altiplano, in the Andes Mountains of Peru, in South America. My village is cut by a paved highway running east and west. Almost 13,000 feet high, it is above the tree line, and even on a sunny day, it is very cold. It seems that the wind is always blowing. Our village is called Cutinicapia. It is about 5 kilometers from the town of Juli. 56 families live here. On this side of the road are the central plaza, the school, the chapel, and our homes. All the land in the pampa is common ground and is used by anyone for pasturing the animals. The high-tension lines run through the village, but no one has electricity. Our fields on the other side of the road go down to the shores of Lake Titicaca. We don't build our homes here because sometimes the lake floods, like in 1981 and 82. Lake Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in the world. Fishing boats of all sizes use it. Some people swim and bathe here, but the water is much too cold for me. Our village was once the plantation of a wealthy owner who lived far away but demanded a big percent of our harvests. The land reform law of 1977 put an end to that. The land was divided up among the workers, and that's how my parents became owners of these 10 acres of land. But it is much too small to support the 7 of us. We are called campesinos because we live on the land, or the campo. We farm it and have animals. My mother's name is Maria de la Paz. My brother, Julio, is 20 years old. Then there's my sister, Nelly and David. Marlene is 9 years old. My father is Mauricio. He and all the neighbors worked hard 10 years ago to install our water system. We have 25 sheep, 3 burros, 8 cows and a calf, and a lot of chickens. Julio is seriously thinking of leaving here and enlisting in the army. My mother doesn't like that at all. There are 2 others, my sister Graciela and an elder brother, Alberto. Because there is no land for them here, they both migrated to the town of Tacna on the Pacific coast. I almost forgot, we have a dog called Tarzan. He protects us in the night. You see, according to our custom, a father must divide the land equally among all his children. That's great, but since my father has little land to begin with, Graciela and Alberto just had to leave. We are natives of this land. We were owners of this land before the Spanish came and conquered Peru in 1538. My people are called Aymara. We are a distinct group from the Incas, who spoke the Quechua language and were the rulers during the 14th and 15th centuries. Our language is called Aymara. 1.5 million Aymara people live in the region around Lake Titicaca and the city of La Paz, Bolivia. My brother Alberto and his wife Beatriz are going to be patrons of the village fiesta next year. I am going to dance in this year's fiesta. It's exciting. The group has been practicing for months. It's my first time dancing in the village fiesta, so I'm kind of nervous about it too. Each morning at 7:30, a group of us waits on the highway for a bus to take us to the town of Juli. It costs 40 US cents a day. I'm in the 6th grade. While most of the town is mestizo, or mixed blood people, the majority of the students here are Aymara campesinos. I like studying and going to school. I like math and the natural sciences. I like geography and learning about other countries. I've never traveled far. I've never seen Lima, the capital. And I'd really like to go to Tacna to visit my brother and sister and see the Pacific Ocean. Another place I want to visit is Cusco, the Incan capital, and of course the fabulous ruins of Machu Picchu. The subject I find most difficult is the history of Peru. My father wants us to study, to learn Spanish, and that's why he's willing to sacrifice and spend the extra money to send us to school in Juli. Some of the mestizos still call us dirty Indians. Indios is the word they use. I don't like that word. It's probably a good word, but not the way they use it. After all, we are trying to educate ourselves as best we can and to do something for our country. This is the famous temple and grounds of Tiahuanacu, near the city of La Paz in Bolivia. It was a ceremonial center built by my ancestors in the 1st century. It is evident that my people were very important. They had to be great to be able to build like this. This archway is called Puerta del Sol, the door of the sun, and this is Inti, the sun god. The entire temple area was designed so that on June 21st, the shortest day of the year, and on December 21st, the longest day of the year, the rays of the sun would strike certain objects in the temple area. It is now the 1st week of December, and everyone is waiting for the dry season to end and the rainy season to begin. The clouds build up each day, but nothing happens. Over a month ago, we planted potatoes, but they haven't germinated yet. The ground is too dry. The earth and we wait and wait and hope. Did you know that the potato originated here in the Altiplano region of Peru and Bolivia? Look at these white-skinned potatoes, called Hanco Emilia in Aymara. That means white girl. Then there is Huila Emilia, or red girl. Another is Chiar Emilia, or black girl. We plant over 100 varieties of potatoes. Another invention of our ancestors is chuño. Chuño is a potato that is squeezed until there is no water left in it. It can be kept this way for years. When we are ready to eat it, we soak the chuño in water and cook it. Tunta is the same, but processed differently, so that it remains white. This altiplano grain is called quinoa. It only grows here and is important because it is very high in protein. It was the Spanish who brought the potato back to Europe after the conquest. From there, our potato spread into the diet of the entire world. Animals native to the Altiplano are the llama and its cousin, the alpaca. There were no mules or horses before, so in Incan times, llamas were used as beasts of burden. They could carry about 35 pounds. We own a small flock of sheep, like the ones I showed you before. We pasture them each day in the pampas outside our home. My mother spends hours spinning the sheep's wool into yarn. All the women here do that. Before, every mother taught her daughters how to spin, because almost all our clothes were spun and made at home. Our customs are changing because nowadays we buy most of our clothes in the marketplace. Afterward, my mother weaves with the yarn which she has spun and dyed. Here she is making a blanket for a bed. This is a tradition that I want to learn. I'm not too good at it yet, but I'm learning. All women must know how to weave before they get married. Notice the wall of stones behind me. That is to protect us from the winds that howl in from Lake Titicaca. After the fiesta mass, the priest blesses my brother, Alberto, and his wife. As patrons, they are responsible for continuing our traditions. It is a great honor. This is my first time dancing. I've practiced and practiced, but I'm still uncertain. I hope I don't make a fool out of myself. This dance is called the Morenada, the dance of the dark ones. I don't really understand it, but it is about the Spanish conquest. The rest of the day is full of dance. We campesinos live a very simple life of work during most of the year. But on fiesta days, we stop everything and give ourselves to celebration. We celebrate our customs, our history, and who we are. They are wonderful days for everybody in our village and for those who return. I enjoy it, and next year, God willing, I'll be again dancing in our fiesta.
This is where I am living now. The farm is called Gamilheira in the northeast of Brazil, near the city of João Pessoa. It's in the middle of nowhere. I don't like it much. Until a week ago, we used to live in one of these shacks with the black plastic roofs. It was awful, crowded, dirty, just awful. My name is Lucivaldo. I just turned 15 years old. My brother, Alexandro, is 13. A week ago, we moved into this house. It's really a garage. My family lives in the back half. The front half is a meeting room for the community. My dad's name is Arlindo. My mom is Maria. Dad brought all of us kids and my mother to live here 6 months ago. Some people call us squatters, but I don't think so. We are farmers without land, and if we had a chance, we would make this land produce a lot of food. Before, we used to live in the state of Pernambuco, about a 3-hour bus ride north of here. Dad was a supervisor in a big sugar refinery, but they fired him. He was 45 years old, and here they fire you for that. They figure you're too old. They get someone younger to do the work. Let me tell you who we are, briefly, because we are a large family. Edvan, the oldest, is 19 years old. Lucy Cregis is 17, and Maria, the baby, is just 6 months. Then Lucineci, who is 8, and very shy, along with Luciani, 10. José is just 2 years old. Cosmo is 4, and Leonard 11. And here I am, Lucivaldo, with my brother Alexandro behind me. That is a lot of kids, isn't it? We are 10 altogether. It's funny, but sometimes my parents get confused when they call out our names. Anyway, back to my story. So here's my dad with no work. We have no land. The house we lived in belonged to the sugar refinery, and they order us out. They put us in the street. And what are we to do? How are we supposed to live and eat? We lived with relatives for a while, but that was real bad. I got so nervous worrying about what would become of us. Then my father heard of the Sem Terra movement, people without land. He joined and went to the meetings. He learned that there is a big problem with land ownership in our country. Just a tiny 1% of the people own nearly half the farmland of Brazil, and much of the land they own is not even used. Wealthy people buy land, and since they don't have to pay many taxes, they just hold on to it. Among the poor, over 50% are crowded onto just 3% of the land. It doesn't seem fair, especially when there are so many people who don't have anything. No work, no land, no way to support their family. Many landless families go into the cities looking for work. They live in shanty towns called favelas. São Paulo has almost 1 million people living in shanty towns. But the landless people got together and organized. They began to protest in the streets of São Paulo, demanding land for those who work it. Right now, the landless movement has hundreds of thousands of members. They pressured the government to change our desperate situation. Finally, Congress passed the land reform law, and now 140,000 families have been settled on unused or idle lands. Our 50 families settled here in Gamilheira.
Novo céu, a nova terra, novo mar. E neste dia, os oprimidos, numa só voz a liberdade irão cantar. Na nova terra, o negro não vai ter corrente, e o nosso povo vai ser visto como gente. Na nova terra, o negro, o índio, o mulato, o branco e todos vão comer no mesmo prato. irá chegar novo dia, novo céu, uma nova terra, novo mar. E neste dia, o sol...
The first thing we did when we got here was to build a shack. It was bad. 12 of us, crammed into 2 rooms. I saw my mom cry often, especially when the rainy season came and water poured through the plastic roof. We were always wet. Our clothes and beds were wet. The floor was mud all the time. Sometimes I think we should all get out of here. What we had is better than this. But my dad says no. We have to go ahead. This is our kitchen. It's not much. Mom does so much work. It's just not fair. Another thing that bothers me is that there are few kids my own age here. Before I would play soccer with my friends. I wonder what they are doing now. Mom makes these rugs and hats to earn money. They are made out of old plastic bags. She cuts them into strips and knits the plastic into whatever she can sell. But she gives most of them away. The other group of families with us had a bad scare a month ago. Masked men arrived in the middle of the night when everyone was sleeping. They shot their guns into the air and beat everyone out of their shacks. Then the men torched the place. Everything, clothes, blankets, food, everything went up in smoke. One lady was beaten and they broke her arm. It's common here for the landowners to hire thugs to do this. Some 47 people were killed in land disputes in 1996, either by paid goons or by the police. It's scary. With all this land idle and unproductive, why can't the people who are hungry have it? Still, no one has left Gamilheira. All sorts of people have encouraged us to stay put. My parents ask us, if we left here, where would we go? Where can a family of 10 kids go? So we stay and make the best of it. Today my mom has a special treat for us. She prepares some fried fish to add to our rice.
Não me deixa faltar. Em nome de Cristo nosso Senhor, nos pedimos, meu Deus, para sempre. Amém.
My dad and mom are deeply religious. We depend on God for so much. Until we plant our own fields and harvest them, we don't have a lot to eat. This is the time for pineapples. There is nothing like slicing and sharing a fresh pineapple. This man is a member of our group and is building a shack. He is Severino Ramos, has a wife and 3 small children. He too wants land. My father told us, let's go over and give him a hand. When he finishes his house, his wife and kids will come and join him. No one knew the other before settling here, but we are becoming friends and neighbors. Another neighbor is Pedro and Maria Luciana. Pedro could find work only 6 months a year cutting sugarcane. During the other 6 months, there was no money for food. They had to do something when their first baby was born, so they joined the landless movement. It's a struggle, but my dad and mom tell us kids it will be better someday. They tell us one day we'll have our own land and our own home with water and electricity. That this will be a small town with a plaza and school and soccer field. It is hard to see that now, I know. Still, I have my dreams of the future, of farming our own fields and eating a lot of food. These small kids from the settlement come to class 3 or 4 times a week to learn their letters. Simone is a church volunteer teacher. She has a lot of fun and everyone loves her. I don't know how to read and write. I finished first grade and left school. I didn't learn much. School was a 2-hour walk away, and half the time the teacher never came. So I said, the heck with it. I've only traveled between my old home and here, just a couple 100 miles. My country is so large and I've never seen it. Well, someday I'll get to see Brasilia, the capital, and São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Someday. A lot of the time here, there's not much to do but wait. I'd like to learn to read and write, but to sit down with these little kids, I couldn't. It would be too embarrassing. When I grow up, I think I'll become a truck driver. But who knows? Maybe truck drivers have to know how to read and write, so maybe I can't. Well, then I'll be a farmer. Aye, when I think of the future, my head goes round and round. It's better not to think too much about it.
X, Z. Presta atenção. Essas letrinhas, elas formaram o grupo de qual letra?
We have this pond nearby, and I love it. Every day, my brothers and I go swimming. We race one another to the other side and back. Everyone goes bathing here, especially on hot days. We also come here to wash our clothes. We take water from the pond to use in the kitchen for cooking and washing. Right now we are planting our common mandioca fields. This land is so fertile, it will produce a lot. My dad does his part. In 3 months, all the families will harvest and divide the mandioca. I like getting together with all the families here. It feels good knowing that the landless movement has so many people. We work together. We hope together. We all say that someday our struggle will be worth it, that the government will grant us our titles and we'll be growing food all over this farm. One day, this land will be ours.
Trabalha, agindo nesse chão, pra não faltar o pão na mesa de ninguém. A terra Deus deixou pra gente habitar, habitar, plantar e produzir, colher e repartir, e ao Pai erguer as mãos, e ao Pai erguer as mãos.